The days of having to buy your FishTank PC case are gone. Now you can finally 3D print one. This case got micro ATX support, a GPU up to 300mm, and I personally chose an AIO, but you can also get up to a 160mm air cooler. It also has support for 3 fans and uses an SFX power supply. And the nice thing is you can print this case on a 180mm bed, so if you have a Prusa Mini or a Bambu Lab A1 Mini, you can happily print it. And well, this PC case design is very original. I definitely didn't steal. I got a little inspired from this case I found on Amazon. For the name, I was also very creative, so I call it LilFishyTanky. Thanks to the mesh panels and fan placements, the airflow is surprisingly solid. It keeps everything cool even on the most intense benchmarks. Alrighty, now, before we assemble it, we need to have all the tools and materials. For the tools, you need a soldering iron, a screwdriver, and a hot glue gun. For the materials, you need at least 2.5 kilos of filament, a pack of M3 heated inserts, a set of M3 screws, another set of some PC screws, a 16mm button, and lastly one 265 by 338mm plexiglass and another one 265 by 173mm plexiglass, and buy ones with a 3mm thickness. Now we can get to assembly. First, take one lower part and you'll need 2 M3 heated inserts. You need to have your soldering iron, and I recommend warming it up to the same temperature as you printed the part. I printed this in PTG, so for me it's going to be 240. Now you can just push it in. Great! Put this aside and take 2 lower parts. We'll also need 2 M3 heated inserts for this one. Amazing! Now comes 3 lower parts, and like the other ones, this one also needs 2 heated inserts. We can take the next part, 4 lower part, and it's the exact same 2 heated inserts. You can take your 1 lower part again. As you can see, there's a hole right here. Grab your 16mm PC button, just insert it, and remember to lock it in with the nut. Now, if you're going to mount a SATA SSD, I would really recommend to do it now, as it will be easier. Take 2 lower parts, and as you can see, there's a place for SSD right here. Take your SSD and slide it in. It's designed so it doesn't need to be perfectly straight. Take your M3 screw pack, and I would recommend 2 10mm screws. And a screwdriver is also really recommended. For the next step, you'll have to take a 1, 2, 3, 4 connector. First, take 1 lower part and then just slide through the connector very easily like this. Then take 2 lower parts, slide it in like this. After that one comes 3 lower parts, and it comes in right here. And then lastly, we got 4 lower parts, which also just slides in like this. Now that we've got this kind of assembled, we'll need 4 pieces of some lil connectors. Then take each lil connector and just put it into their designated places. Also, if you ever have trouble fitting in the lil connectors, then I recommend to just tap it with a hammer. After doing all of this and getting a solid piece, we need something to supply the power to. Here comes the SFX power supply. As you can clearly see, the power supply is going to be mounted exactly like this. We'll need the PC screw pack. For this, we'll need some M3.5 screws. Amazing, now it's solid as a rock. Now, put aside this assembly. First, we need 7 lower upper part. There's 2 heated inserts which need to go in. Now just place it somewhere. You also need the rest pieces. You need 5, 6, 7, 8 connector. Like the last assembly, just take it and slide it through. Then take 6 lower upper part and also just slide it through. After that one, 8 lower upper part. And last but not least, 5 lower upper part. We'll need 4 lil connectors, and like with the last one, just put them in. For the next thing we're going to do, we're going to pretty much route the power supply and the other cables through the top, kind of like this. As you can see, there's like 2 holes right there, and you can route the cables through those. For me personally, because I bought, well, the cheapest power supply I could find, the cables will sadly not be long enough. It probably won't be a problem for you, but I did kind of cheap out on it. So because of that, I had to buy a cable extension kit. Let's get to getting the cables through. But before cable managing, you can connect SATA to the SSD, if you have one of course. Also, don't forget your SATA cable. And you can just take it like this and just pull everything through. Alrighty, very nice. I got every cable I needed. So now comes a very obvious part. You need 3 screws. You can use any length as long as it isn't short enough or, well, too long. But for this, I recommend 8mm screws. Okay, now the other half is a little more tricky, but still very doable. As you can see, there's screws on the inside and also here. You can rotate the whole assembly now. For the next thing, you'll need 9 and 10 back part. You'll also need back connector. First thing you do, you can put aside the PC case and place 9 and 10 back part like this. Then take the back connector and slide it through. You'll also need 3 little connectors, and you can just place it in here. You can move the PC case back into its prime position, take your newly assembled parts and slide it through very nicely. Now take the 2 remaining little connectors and just connect. And well, now this part where you're supposed to kind of route the cables is just slightly different to each motherboard, but I'm still gonna give you my recommendations. So you can take the front PC power button connector cable through this hole. Now comes 11 back front part and 12 back front part. You can also pull the SATA cable through here. Before we assemble the case, we'll have to heat insert the parts. Here on 11, we've got 2 holes for heated inserts. Now, number 12, and there's a need for 3 heated inserts. First, grab 11 back front part and route your cables through the holes. Also grab 6 little connectors. And now just assemble. You can take 12 front back part and add in the rest of the little connectors. Move the case aside. Again, you'll need 13 motherboard I/O port and 14 motherboard I/O port. Grab 3 little connectors, and as you can clearly see, just connect them. Once it's nicely assembled, you can move the case so that you can see these 2 connectors, or actually holes. You'll need 2 little connectors, and just place the panel like this and connect it. Once you've assembled it. Alrighty, the required parts now: 15, 16, 17 and 18 top part. And you need 10 little connectors for this, so that's quite a bit. I mean, the hammer trick works amazing. Alrighty, let's put 2 fans on here before we assemble it onto the case. Alrighty, I did print it in white, so of course I'm gonna go with white fans. Now comes the next fan. Alrighty, now we can cable manage the cables. You can just connect the cables. As it turns out, my motherboard doesn't support RGB fans. Because of that, I'll have to use this adapter. And to use this adapter, we need a mATX cable. And the mATX cable is, well, underneath the PC case. Alright, now that we got that on, we can take this panel and the cables into the case. We can assemble it using 9 little connectors. What I recommend doing is putting the case upside down, because that will make stuff a lot easier. Now that we've got all of them connected, we can finally flip it back up again. Alright, now what remains to do, as you can see this part is kind of loose, so we'll have to glue the sides right here on both sides. Alright, you can put this case aside again. Now comes the classic good old part, the motherboard. Like any other good old PC case build, comes the processor first, and then just clamping it down. Now comes your RGB or non-RGB RAM. Now comes also the, if you have one of course, the NVMe SSD. Alright, once you've assembled the motherboard, you can move back the PC case and remember to do this very important step, getting the IO shielding. Once you got that in, before we assemble the motherboard onto the case, you also need motherboard standoff screws, so add in as many as you need into each and every hole. Alrighty, we can finally insert the motherboard in. Okay, now it's in very nicely. We can now connect some of the cables. We also got to get the cable extender right now. Okay. Now you can assemble your fan onto this, or I went for an AIO, so I'll mount that to this. Well, the screws depend on what you choose to mount on here. Once you've got your fan or AIO mounted, you can route the cables through the back of the case. As you know, there's a hole up here for the cables. If you flip the case to its back, you can just do some good old cable management. Now comes a fun part. Applying thermal paste to the CPU and installing the cooler. It's a great idea to lay the PC on its back while applying the thermal paste. Let's apply some thermal paste. It wasn't the most beautiful thermal paste apply, but flip the case back up again, put this part at the back. Now we can finally actually assemble the AIO onto the processor. Very nice. Now that I kind of think about it, a black fan would look better. We can rotate the PC case to its back again. You'll need 8 pieces of M3 heated insert. As you can see, there's like 4 holes and 4 holes here. You can take 19 backport hatch, attach it onto here like this, and then take 4 pieces M3 12mm screws and just screw in into each and every hole. Now of course comes 20 backport hatch, and well, it is the exact same mounting as with this part. Probably one of the most important parts of PC build, the GPU. It's EVGA, which makes it even better, because if you know, they don't make no GPUs no more for the magical part. Don't forget to connect your cables, speaking from experience. And this part right here is very important because we have to screw in the GPU. So you can take 2 M3 10mm screws and some nuts. First screw is in, the GPU sits very solid. Now comes the last and final part, the plexiglass. As I said in the beginning of the video, you need one plexiglass sheet that's 3mm wide and 265 by 173mm, and another plexiglass sheet that's the same thickness but 265 by 338mm. Now comes sliding them in. Just slide it in very easily like this. So now comes the bigger one. Just like this. Well, now comes the most important part. Turning on the PC. This is looking cool. I guess it was really worth it going crazy with the RGB. I mean, you could even do it without the RGB, but this does look real cool though. So if you haven't already checked out this PC case on Thingiverse, and if you like it, you can print. Also, this isn't just my second 3D printable PC case design, so I really just want as much feedback on it as possible. Whether it's good or bad, I want it so that I can improve. Well, with that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're interested in also seeing another micro ATX 3D printable PC case, but more in the shape of a cube, then I'd recommend checking out this video.